I remember saying to her, I said, you can't talk to your husband the way you talk to your children. Under the same thing. So to her, it's like if something is wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter who did it, which is true.
Can we talk about life, love, and relationship?
Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of Life, Love and Relationships. Today we're delving into the topic emotional availability versus physical presence. And with me today again is Coach Aniekan. So Coach Aniekan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. In our last interview with you, we delved into the topic how to pour into yourself, right? Self-love so that you're able to love your significant other. Today we want to talk about emotional availability versus physical presence in marriage. And that's because, just before we came on, we were talking about, couples who are not even, romantically engaged, but they still live together. So there are a lot of marriages like that who, for one reason or the other, they live together, but they are not living like couples should do. Emotional availability. First of all, what is emotional availability versus physical presence?
So just like they say, thank you very much for having me, and it's always an honor to be on the program with you. Just like they say that, have you had this adage, the light is on, but no one is home?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So you can be talking to someone. I want to define this before we go into the thing itself. You can be talking to someone, and just like when you're on your phone, and maybe someone is trying to get your attention, and like, but you're not really there. You are still on the phone. You can't, because this thing we think we can do, multitask, is not really a reality. A lot of times, what you're doing by thinking you're multitasking is that you're shifting from one thing to another. You are vacillating. You move from one, and every time you move to one thing, you lose this, because remember what I said, that focus creates blindness. So when you look at something else, you're not seeing this. You understand? And then that's why we have accidents on the road, for example. You just took your eyes off to respond to that text. It was just 3 seconds, but something happened in 3 seconds, and because you were not looking, bam, there was a collision and something happened, and then you had an accident. So usually, you can be present, but you're not emotionally available. You cannot be emotionally available and not present, because you can't be emotion. You understand? You have to be present, first of all, and then be available. Now, so many things actually, I have, from my experience, have been a pool where you can be. For example, if you have a spouse who doesn't consider you in a lot of ways, they can be there because you want them to be there. Something I noticed, let me just quickly digress. He wants to watch a football match, and you want to watch something else. And even though he lets you watch that thing, he can sit with you there, but it's not emotionally available. He's thinking of his cause. So a lot of times, people do that to safeguard themselves. Sometimes they do that because it's the default that they do. But it always starts from somewhere. It just doesn't start yesterday. Something has been building over a time, that they are both taking different stands on different fundamental things. And that's why, like we would say in vernacular back in Sydney, take any rest, please. Kind of thing. That's how they give themselves.
But how do couples arrive there? How do couples arrive at a situation where they are present, but they are not emotionally available to one another?
There are so many ways that will bring a person to that particular kind of position. But one of them that comes to mind, I'm just going to unveil them as they come, is when you start to take each other for granted. You know that, sometimes, like Jesus said, that a prophet is without honor in his own house. A lot of times, I have seen this person, I've seen them in and out, I frankly know them, so I can just sit down there while they're talking, I just blah, blah, I will not be listening, but I'm not listening, I'm really thinking of something else. So it starts from, one, taking each other for granted. Two, you don't pay attention to each other. And we are human, so we know when you don't give me attention, and some of us blame work. We say, kind of work that I do, I have to be there. When I come back, I'm tired. I cannot do this. No, you have to sit down. Listen, every time you're not available to each other, something comes in between you. Doesn't matter what it is. Something must. You see, because there's no vacuum in the world. Every vacuum must be filled. So something will come. It could be your friends, it could be the children, it could be some program, it could be work. Something always comes in. So you see, you have chosen to be together for good and bad, for worse and whatever. And it starts with the fact that you have to make each other your number one priority after
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
It's a conscious thing. And because of this, sometimes it could also be the fact that there's a husband that works, very odd jobs. He leaves early in the morning, comes back late. So a lot of things when he comes back he's tired. So many things can be, your particular situation. Understand that it's hurting you. If any of you is available, present, and you're not available emotionally, it will eventually rob you of your intimacy, of your love, of your marriage at the end of the day. Because you start thinking, if I can do without you, then let me move on. Because that's what it's leading to. That's where that train is taking you to.
Yeah.
Where you get to, I'm independent, I can do without you. And once that you think I can do without you, then you start seeing other people outside who seem to fit that role well. And then all of a sudden, you switch your affection, sometimes not knowingly,
Yeah.
but you start to switch your attention so you don't have that attention.
And it's a way to also deal with pain. If you think your wife, your husband is not, giving you the attention, so you also want to find something else to
Occupy that attention.
occupy. Yes, yes. When we were discussing the topic self-love and sacrificial love in marriage, we talked about a spouse's inability to receive love, even when the other spouse really, really loves the spouse, right? And I felt that was really powerful because that is the reality of a lot of people. So I would want you to talk about barriers to emotional availability, because in some cases I don't believe people are wicked. I don't believe a husband would deliberately choose not to love his wife. I don't believe that a wife would deliberately choose to be emotionally unavailable to the husband. But there are just barriers. There are things, sometimes it could be childhood trauma, it could be unresolved issue, it should be communication gap, not having the capacity to communicate the way you should communicate in the most effective way. What are some of the barriers that you consider very common in marriage to emotional availability?
One of the ones that really comes to mind is this independency that we have as individuals. So remember, before you get married or you got married, you were on your own, you were independent, you chose when you woke up, what you did. Everything that you did was you were the one in control. Now there's someone else in your life, things kind of change. And sometimes we don't transition into that change. That is now someone has to tell me what to cook or when to cook, and I could wear something and he or she would say that doesn't look good on you and I have to change it. You understand? Now I have to start to submit my will to someone else. It can be a bit challenging for most people. Very challenging for most people.
Especially if you've been independent for a long time.
So a lot of times, most independent women, I notice, find it very, very difficult to fall into that. So yes, they love the guy. Yes, the guy is all that they want, but especially if they think the guy doesn't always make wise decisions. Do you understand? You see, because let me tell you something about marriage, interestingly. One pastor said something. He said, before you think of marriage, you must be willing as a woman to submit everything under that man. Everything under him. And as a man, you must be willing to die for that woman. If you're not willing to die, if you're not resolved to die, don't touch it. If you're not resolved, you see, when it comes to this thing they call submission or whatever, I know they think it is some very good. How I submit? Listen, it's possible for your protection. Understand? Just like I'm submitted to Christ. Why? I can go out and do anything. I can run. I'm submitted to him because that submission to him is what allows him lord over me and direct me and protect me. If I don't want to, I can go and do my thing, no problem. And he will not force me. Now, I say to people, I say this, listen, who is the husband, the man? Who is the wife, the woman? Were you created a man? Yes. Were you created a woman? Yes. Who created you? God. So God found out that you can function the best as a man or as a woman. Number one. Number two, you guys have roles in your relationship. That's what you have. The roles enable you function. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean I lord it over. No, that's not the idea. It doesn't mean if I submit, like I hear women, struggle with this. And listen, a struggle with this is a lack of understanding of what it really means. Because you know that mentality, I submit to you, now be treating me like boy, treating me like as if, you understand? So that's what we're afraid of. back to what you had said. So a lot of times, that independence that we've had, it's difficult to say to allow someone else to direct, especially maybe you are more read than he is, or you have more backing or more experience than he is. Listen, when you come under a leadership, it could even be a pastor, it could be a leader anywhere. Unconsciously, God deals with that leader before you. That's the mystery. He deals with that leader. I'll give an example. Look at Moses. Moses wasn't the older of them now, Aaron or his sister. He wasn't the oldest now. But guess what happened? When his authority was challenged, God himself dealt with Miriam. So God doesn't break rank. That's the truth. That's why you see someone like Angel Michael saying that the Lord rebuked Lucifer, because Lucifer, in terms of rank, even though he'd fallen, was higher than he was. So he said, the Lord rebuke you. Why? Because God does not, you see, the gift of God is not repentance. So God does not take. So for God to make him, he may not be, the problem is that he may not do it the way I want him to do it. But I have to submit to him doing what he's doing, because my submission to that is what God rewards me for. And even if he goofs or errs, God is able to correct it, and he will make sure that I get the least brought, because I submitted because of him. Just and I came under that authority because of him. I've been privileged to be under different ministries, both in Nigeria, in Jamaica, in Canada. And trust me, one thing, they have not always done it right, but it's not in me to correct them. It's not in me to correct them. I can think I know a lot. It's not in me. So I would say, sorry, if you ask me, and I always wait for them to ask, and they ask, I'll tell them. So one of the things that really, really affects us in marriage is the fact that I've been independent. I've called the shot myself. And after all, even in that job. So imagine you met someone in a job where you were the manager and the person was subordinate. Guess what you're going to do if you're not married? You think you were in the military and say she's a brigadier and you are a colonel, and you'll have difficulty. So a lot of times you must understand that where he sits is the seat that graces him, not who he is. It's the seat he sits. It's a place he holds that graces him, not what he does or not do. And if you believe that God is able to make all grace abound towards you, if you believe that God is able to make all things work together for your good, if you believe that for yourself, believe that for him as well. And I talk about this in terms of the wife and the husband, because there's nothing that you know. God will never come to you as a wife to talk about your family.
Interestingly, you've gone into my next question. So I asked before that what are some of the barriers to emotional availability? We talked about trauma, and I think that is one topic that we should later unpack fully. You know, how trauma stands in the way of enjoying your marriage, unresolved trauma. Right? Trauma in itself, in one way or the other, most human beings have gone through one type of trauma or the other, but it's when it's unresolved that it becomes an issue when you get married. So we've talked about some of the barriers, unresolved trauma, poor communication style, distraction, busyness, like you rightly said, sometimes unwillingness to submit because you've been independent for so long. So can you also tell us how to address some of those barriers, some of the barriers that lead to some of the barriers to emotional availability in marriage?
Well, so I usually teach this. If you know what the problem is, you're 50% solved it. It's already 50% done. Now, how do you now get from there to... A lot of times people know what the problem is and we talk about it, we talk around it, we talk of it, but we don't address it in itself. So let me use one for example. You have gone through traumatic experience and you know it's affecting your availability. Then see one of us. That's the first thing to do. See someone that can help you walk through that, because you need to walk through that. That's number one. Now, if it has to do with work, everything. So one of my mentors said to me years ago, he said, you're not a tree. You know, a tree, if you plant a tree here, it will remain there for the rest of its life. You're not a tree, so you can move.
Human beings will evolve.
That's right. You can evolve. You can. If you want your marriage, there's nothing you will not do to keep it. If you want it, there's nothing you will not do to keep it. And it's something that we usually kind of talk lightly on. You know, can you imagine? I'm expecting you to fight for the marriage. And when you fight, I will now come and sit in it. It doesn't work like that. You fight for it, he fights for it, you're both fighting for it. Remember the first time I went for counseling years ago, Pastor Michael said something to us very fundamental. He said, number one, you both must want this marriage. If you don't, if one of you doesn't want it, then
it can't work. The counselor cannot perform magic.
Don't think anything would happen. It will waste of my time. Number two, if I ask you, so we come to a conclusion to do something, we don't do it, nothing would work. So it's one thing to know what to do, so nothing
Yeah.
to do it. And most times, most of us know what to do, but we're not doing it. And that's what the problem really is. So,
Let's unpack that, sir. Why don't we do the things that we know we should do to make it work? Why are we not able to?
number one, we have not come to terms with ourselves. We have not come-
Self-awareness
That's
in
right.
marriage. This thing always comes up.
We have not come to terms with ourselves. That's number one. And then pride has a very strong thing. Remember, this independence, if it's not managed properly, people, you talk to someone, for example, that's why I like children. Tell a child, get up from there, go sit down here. They will go sit down and ask you, mommy, why? Or daddy, why? Tell another to go sit down there, they'll say, why? And then something comes and strikes them. They will now, we always want to know why before we do something because, excuse me, we feel that we don't want to be ordered around. And that's where this starts from. So, and that's where pride really takes a hold of us because you don't know everything. You don't know everything. That's the first thing you need to. And so, if you don't know everything, what about if something you don't know is what you are listening, hearing, to, or it's facing you now? So, a lot of people they don't want to be, so they know what to do. They don't want to do it because they just think that, if I pray, or God will just wave something, or something will just happen, magically. And then, no, there's work when it comes to marriage. There's work.
Yeah.
Both of you, as I said earlier, must be fighting. Fight is not always, it's not fighting one another, which is what most couples do. They fight each other. They look at you, the other person as the problem. You must be the issue. You must be the problem. Whereas it's not. So when they don't know that, then it's not. So it's good to know what to do, but you have to do it.
Okay.
You have to get up on your feet and do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would also want you to talk about some of the practical ways to be emotionally present. So active listening, daily check-in, creating a safe space for vulnerability, managing distractions, for most of us, phones, right? What are some of those? How can we best manage that?
Great question. Well, let me pick up what you said. Some of them, for example, I know of a couple who went because they always meet at the dining table. There's always everyone. So they made a rule: no phones on the dining table. So nobody brings his or her phone to the dining table because it's.
This thing you said. Funny enough, I was thinking about it last week that we need to bring back that culture. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just me, what I've observed. I remember growing up, there was a time for breakfast, there was a time for lunch, there was a time for dinner, and everybody ate. And that has its own, those little traditions can play a very big role in how a family bonds. It's little, right? But these days we seem to, I'm not ready for breakfast, so this one just has breakfast when she wants to, this one has, do you understand? God will help us. I was just thinking about it last week that, ouch, I'd really like us to have, even if it's just one meal a day at the same time, sit at the dining table. But please, let me not distract you. We were talking about how to, practical steps to be more emotionally present.
Jesus had a lot of meals with his disciples because that was
a lot of what?
Meals with his
meals,
disciples,
yeah.
because that's where bonding really is.
Wow.
It's a place where
wow. Jesus had a lot of meals
with his
disciples because it's a tool for bonding. Damn.
If you don't have it, and it has to be intentional because remember, everything is trying to distract you. Why? Because divided you will fall. You would fall divided. And look at it now, for example. You see,
Jesus had a lot of meals with his disciples. I'm still ruminating.
look at
how very true though.
Look at scripture. I know a place where the son goes, takes his food, goes to his room. Now takes his food, go to, they all eat at different times. They eat different things. They don't, because we don't understand that. That's where we don't understand the power of bonding really. We think that we're doing our thing, and then when we start to, let me use the word suffer, when we start to get challenges, we realize that we're alone in it because we have created this alone, independent. I'm okay. I can take care of myself kind of attitude, and you really can't. No, there's no tree that makes an island, a forest rather. You have to understand that it's in the bonding. So you must deliberately create avenues for bonding. You talk about creating a safe space. A lot of times you have to be willing to be vulnerable because you know that you will be taken. Listen, I have made mistakes. I said to someone, listen, I will make mistakes tomorrow. So I'm not telling you that I'm going to be perfect tomorrow. I'm going to make mistakes tomorrow, but I'm going to be quick to tell you I'm sorry. I'm going to be quick to apologize. It's not because I'm afraid or because I am, it's because it's the right thing to do. You know the way the Bible puts it? It says, he that knows to do good and does it not, to him, it becomes sin. So I'm doing that because it's good. I'm not doing that because I'm afraid of you. I'm not doing that because I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. Why? Because I will give account of myself one of these days. So a lot of times you create an environment that doesn't allow for you to talk. Be willing to talk and learn to talk, but learn to listen. In fact, I put it this way, as one of my mentors said, he said, you have to, first of all, understand to be understood. You have to seek to understand first before you understood. So your spouse is talking, for example, what is he saying? What is she saying? Before you say no, you get
active listening, not listening to respond.
Exactly, which is
really what we do. Listening to understand what this person
is saying. We're listening with our guns cocked, ready to shoot back. We're not listening to understand because we want to make a point, especially if you think that you are wrong. You want to make a point. But you see, if you keep making points, after a while, there will be no point to make because you guys will become the point. So it's that we understand that in its fullness and say, hey, listen, how do I address this? How do I deal with this? So that we can understand that from the get-go.
Yeah.
That's what happens. That's why people become emotionally unavailable, because so they can be present. At least I can't sleep outside. I'm at home. Even on the bed, they could both sleep on the same bed, but they're not available in that sense. So don't just be present. Be emotionally available as well, because you need that for the growth, for the life of your union.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for staying with us up to this point. Our question for today, interestingly, is, and I think we talked about this in the last episode, is how can women show respect to men? And I'm glad we have a man here to guide us. How? You know, sometimes we talk about some of those things and it looks like, oh, it's easy, just respect him. But sometimes when you're with the person one-on-one, it's not really as easy. Yeah.
So, very true. Very true. What does respect mean for a man? And now we know we keep shouting, oh, respect the man, respect, but what does that really mean? I just want to say it very simply. It's defaulting to him. To him first.
Defaulting to him.
Him first. I would have done it like this, I would have put it like this, I would have said it like this, but default to him. Because a lot of times, when you do that, it curtails the way you talk to him, talk about him. And you could be right.
Wow.
100% right. So remember, you can do a right thing the wrong way. So I'm right, she's right completely, but the way she said it. And you see, once you challenge a man like that, it doesn't matter what is in front of him, even God, he will respond to it with violence, with animosity. He's going to revert to it in such a way that she would not be able, she would wonder, what happened? I just said, you understand? I know of an incident where, now the lady is all, she means no harm. It's not an harm for her. It's the way she responds, she does handle things. But I remember saying to her, I said, you can't talk to your husband the way you talk to your children. Under the same thing. So to her, it's like, if something is wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter who did it, which is true. But the way you talk to him about it in front of other people or whatever, you understand? For example, if you say, don't put your clothes here, sometimes we're not going to throw our clothes anyhow. The most you can do is pack them. You don't want them to pack them. But if you start to nag him or to scroll him, guess what he will do? He will keep living it there. Because he feels challenged. Do you understand? He's brought you in to help him. So that's a fault. Same thing that you will do to a lady, right? For example, not all ladies cook. So what do? Do you now carry her and say, because you don't cook? No, you don't do that. You are meant to complement each other. So what he doesn't do or shouldn't do, you should be the one that should be what you call cover. But don't cover, and because once you say it, you're not covering anymore. You are complaining.
Once you say it, you are not covering anymore. You are complaining. Okay.
Like you will keep your clothes when you bring them. I can talk with you and ask, because sometimes I want to find out why. And you realize when I come back, I'm tired to the bones. So when you see those clothes, is the most I can do. Not that I can't do better, it's the most I can do. So how do you complement that? Okay, now I know I will pack them. I will keep packing them. One day we'll come back and realize I won't put my clothes here because they seem to pack it. Why does she pack it? Let me put it there. But you see, when you try to change a man by standing in front of him, trust me, you understand that a man can be pretty unpleasant. That's why it is God.
Oh, even okay. Can I ask a question?
The wife.
Can I ask a question now?
Go ahead.
To be honest, I don't think I'll pack the clothes. But one thing that I'm beginning to realize is if you are such a woman that you cannot pack the clothes, you learn to live with it rather than complain. Complain is something that I believe kills a marriage. There's a way to raise an issue. If something is a big deal for you, if something is like a deal breaker, things you don't like you come into them, because most women, we like our spaces arranged, neat. So what you've learned to do. So I'll give an example. My husband likes to leave his clothing in the bathroom. I don't. I want the bathroom to come to be smelling fresh. I don't want to come into the bathroom and I'm smelling dirty clothes. So I don't even have a laundry bag in my bathroom. But my husband does it. I used to complain, but I learned that I don't have to complain. I can either live with it or, like you said, pack it. So what I do now is I remove it from there and take it to another place.
You're
Right.
packing it.
No. No.
What is
It's
it?
different. It's different from me cleaning up after a grown man.
Okay.
It's me learning to live with me,
Okay.
learning to live with what I don't like without complaining or making him feel bad for what he's doing. They're two different things. When you say packing it, and I believe in today's world, a lot of women might fight that, and it will not give us the kind of result we're looking for, right? But when you look at it from the perspective that I'm doing it for me, I'm not doing it for him. It's me that cannot live with it. It's me. I'm the one who cannot live with dirty clothes in the bathroom. He's okay with it. He doesn't have a problem with it, right? So when I look at it from the perspective that I'm doing it for him, it becomes a problem even for me. But I'm doing it for me because I'm the one who cannot do it.
Okay.
And that's where pride comes in. Sometimes you can maneuver your way around things that make you feel that your ego has been challenged. It is perspective. I'm still doing it. But I am not doing it because I believe that he keeps doing it because he knows I'll pack after him. I'm doing it because I don't like it. And I have the understanding that complaining about it does not help my marriage. So I'm doing it for me.
It's interesting that most people don't know what complaint does to their.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
They don't understand what complaint does. As someone would say, I don't like this, so what are you going to do about it? I don't like this, so what are you going to do about it? A lot of times, I think we feel that someone will just change itself magically without your input. Listen, when you complain about something, what does complain mean? Even in scripture, when the children of Israel complained, God took them out. God allowed their enemies to. Because complaint to God is still the same thing. Complaint to God is similar to murmuring. You're complaining about an issue. Your complaint doesn't solve. You're not providing solutions for it now. You're complaining about it. So understand that complaint, what it does is that it takes the life out of what you're doing. As she said, I like that. I said, I'm not doing it because it's I'm picking after a grown man or a grown woman. No, for it. What you do, you're doing it first of all for you because you love you. And then you're not doing it for the person because you love him or her. So remember, it always starts from you. And that's why I like what you said. It's for my own sanity, for my own goodness. So I love myself enough to say, this shouldn't be here. I don't like to smell this. So I would do something about it. If you're not doing something about it, you are complaining. You can't do both. And if you say, hey, you're not doing it, you are complaining. So let's stay off complaints because nobody marries a perfect person. If you did.
You yourself, you're not.
And I now found something that even makes it a bit challenging. Most of the time, the things we complain about, we're doing it.
That's why we are complaining about it. But guys, we cannot unpack this. But Coach Aniekan, we really thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life, Love, and Relationships. So, guys, we're getting to our confession. Our confession for today, I would go through it. Father, I thank you for the gift of love and the covenant of marriage. Today, I choose to show up with my heart, not just with my hands. I release every emotional blockage, wound, and wall that has made it hard to connect deeply. I receive your healing, Heavenly Father, and I walk in emotional wholeness. I declare that I am emotionally available, present, and fully engaged in my marriage. I listen with patience. I respond with compassion. I stay connected, even in pressure and pain. I will not hide behind work, distractions, or fear. I reflect the love of Christ in my home with gentleness, kindness, and intentional presence. I would also leave you with scriptures to help you through this. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. Romans 5:5, Ephesians 5:25, and Proverbs 4:23. Please, I would encourage you to go through the scriptures and make those confessions as often as you face this challenge. God bless you. I do hope that I have served you well today together with Coach Aniekan. Thank you. See you on the next episode.
Relationship.